everyone, welcome back to my channel, and here we are going to start with the series of Python, and we are going to understand what Python is all about, what is the language, how the basics of Python can be used, and we can generate programs in a much easier way as compared to any other programming language. So you might have heard about different programming languages like C, C++, Java. There is a proper procedure to write a program over there. We follow the syntactical rule, everything, the proper grammar and everything. Same thing happens in Python, but the difference is the English keywords that we use in Python are much easier and very user-friendly, very programmer-friendly as well. Also, Python is one of the most demanding languages if you see it currently in any of the applications, be it machine learning, be it AI, be it neural networks, everywhere you will find Python as the common, application-based language. So here I'll just share my screen with you and we'll understand the first part, that's the first chapter. So we are going to, move step by step and understand all the fundamentals of Python. Here we learn about the input-output functions and we are going to compare them with other languages as well. Let's just get started from here. So let me take example of C and Java because one of them is the procedural language, that is C, and Java is an object-oriented language, that is, it follows the principles of O. This is a procedural language. Now, when I have to simply, print something or I want to display something on the screen. So I start my C program by including the header files, the basics. Then I use the printf function and then finally I display something, whatever I want to. In Java, again, I use import. I'm going to import the relevant files. I will create the main function. Inside that, I will use the system.out.print function and then I can display the statement that I want to. Sounds easy? Yes. But much easier way can be with Python. You don't have to import anything. You don't have to include any file. You can simply use the print function and display whatever you want to. So let's just compare these and let's see what can be the shortest program. Obviously, it will be with Python. Let's see how short a simple program to display a statement can be with Python. So let me just simply write here print and I type in hello world. This is one program. That's the best thing about Python. Let me run it. See, I get the output on my console. So this is an easiest way in Python to generate a simple program of printing something or to display something on the output screen. Now let us see how many different ways are there in which we can use this print function to display the value. Let's say I want to display a number instead of something which is a string. When I say string, that means any character or any sentence that I'm printing within double quotes. So whatever we write within double quotes is counted as a string, just like other languages. If I want to print a number, I can simply write print 24 and I run it. And let's see the output. I get 24 on the screen. That means I am printing directly a value, which is an integer value. And here I'm printing a sentence, which is enclosed in double quotes. That is the string. Again, let's see one more data type that we can use here is the float data type. I can use a number like this and I can get it printed on my screen. Again, this type of a number will be a float value, right? These are the data types that we use here. Now, let us see if I want to add the two numbers and get their response, get the output as the response on the display. So I can simply write it like this here. Print 24 plus 24.56. These are the simple programs. See, I can directly get the output like this. No need to write any include, any import or anything. It's very hassle-free. That's the best part about Python, right? Okay. Now, let's see how do we create variables and then we get the values printed. So the best part about Python is, again, it is not like other languages where you need to define the data type of the variable first and then assign the value to it. Here, if I create a simple num1 as my variable and I assign a value 24 to it, so this would be automatically understood by Python, and it will understand that yes, if 24 is assigned to a variable called num1, that means num1 is of integer data type. That means you don't need to define the data type of the variable initially. Whatever value you put inside, it will consider that value, and according to that value, it will consider the data type and it will adapt that data type, that particular variable, right? Similarly, if I create num2 and I put 24.56, num2 is now a float data type here of the num2 variable. Similarly, if I talk about num1 here, it is int data type of the num1 variable here in this case. If I say I create val1 as my variable and I assign a string value, that means I'm going to just put up my name here within double quotes. So here, string will be the data type of the val1 variable. The only thing we need to make sure here will be that just like other programming languages, we cannot use the reserved keywords as the variables, right? So like I cannot use print as one of my variables because it is already a reserved keyword with Python library, okay? But similarly, we'll have to follow the same rule that we have to name the variables with letters as the starting. So the letter has to be there to start your variable, followed by, you can use the symbols, you can use underscore and everything. You cannot use spaces, you cannot use reserved keywords, and your variable should not start with the number. All right. Now, this is an easiest way. If I just created these variables, I can simply print these variables. So I'll simply write here print num1. I can write print num2. And I can write print val1. So either you directly print the values. So here, what we were doing above, I'll just write a comment here, directly printing the values or statements or numbers. So basically, we were directly printing the values here. And in the second part, what are we doing? We are printing the values through variables, right? So what are we basically doing? We assign the values to the variables first and then we get them printed. When I run it again, we'll see the values here, okay? So by default, whatever value you put inside the variable, whatever you assign, the variable is going to adapt the data type of that particular value. Now, if I want to do the addition, I can do it with the help of variables as well. That means I can simply write print num1 plus num2. And that's how I can get my output here. See, simple, I'll get a 48.56 here as well. Now, one more thing is the comments that I'm using. So if you need to write a single line comment, just like we have it in Java as well. So we use a hash symbol for that. So comment is something which you can use to define that particular logic or that part of the code. It can be helpful for us as the programmers, right? So that, you know, we can remember what are we actually doing here. Also, you can use a multi-line comment if you want to write a multi-line comment. In that case, we'll have to use the double quote sign. And now I'm going to write here, let's say, let us understand the program here. Okay. And this is again the comment, but it is going to be a multi-line comment for me. Yes, just a minute, because it has to be 3 quotes at a time. So by using 3 quotes, we can actually define a multi-line comment. If I want to write, you know, let us understand the program here and comprehend the usage of variables, print statement, and the input functions. So, you can keep on writing. You can keep on writing a small paragraph also if you want to define what your program is all about. You can use the multi-line comment in the beginning of your program as well. We generally use it in the beginning of the program or the beginning of the logic. Now, this was everything which was related to the print function. So print function is basically the output function. So if I write here, I'll just write here that output based function is what print is all about. Now, I will talk about the input based function. And input based function is simply, when I'm trying to ask the user something, that I'm trying to take some input from the user. So it is again with C and with Java, we have a proper long procedure when we try to take input from the user. But with Python, again, it gets very simple. Print statement and the input based statement are similar way, like this also displays something. And if I use the input function, it will also display something for me. But with input, the best part is we are basically, taking a real input. It is like really it behaves like that. That means we are asking a question over there. So let me just write it for you. The only thing is, because it is an input-based statement, which is asking a question, when we ask a question, we expect a response. When we expect a response, let's say I'm asking, what's your name? And then you reply me, my name is, let's say you say my, what name should I take? Okay, so let me say that I am the user. You're asking me the question, what's your name? I'm going to take my name. My name is Urvashi. That Urvashi is the value. That's the data for you. So you have to save it somewhere. You need to store it somewhere. So these input-based statements are used with the variables where you are going to store the response. So you ask a question, you store the response. That's how it functions. So let's say I create a variable as name and I write here input function and I ask here, what is your name, right? Now, when I run it, it is basically asking me the question and there is a cursor over here. The cursor over here is because it is expecting a response. So I'll have to write my name and then I press enter. Only then my program is going to end. Now, how do I understand that basically this input function is working actually or not? So I'll simply print the variable in which I collected the response. And when I write here my name, that's the value that I'm going to enter. It is going to display it as it is. Same way, we can create one more question over here or one more input variable. Let's say I ask, what is your age? And then I'll just take whatever response the user gives and I'm going to print the same response for the user. So I'm just using the concept of variables in which I'm storing the response of the input function. It is very important because how are we going to actually use that? So let's say I write here, my age is 30, I write 30. So this is what I get as the response here. So till now what we have seen, how the input-based functions and output-based functions work like. Output-based function, we use print function. For the input-based functions, we can simply use the input function like this. And the thing with input is, so if I'm writing Urvashi, it is going to save Urvashi inside the variable name. And Urvashi will be considered as a string. If I write my age 30, again, age will store a value which is 30 that I'm entering as a user. But again, it will be considered as a string. It will not be considered as the integer. That's the thing with input statement. So by default, what happens, I'll just write a comment here, that by default, input function converts all responses to string. So if I want to convert this age into an integer, let's say, so for that, I can do a type conversion. So I'll just write here, type conversion. Now what I can do here is, I can simply write here another question just to show you how do we do the type conversion. I write the data type, that is int, in which I want to convert my response that I'm taking in the input function, followed by the input function. And then I write my question, what is your age? And now when I print age, I can do mathematical operations on it. How I can do that? I can also write print age plus 10. Okay. And if I do age plus 10 over here, let's see what happens. So there is a difference how the plus sign is used with string and how the plus sign is used with an integer. Let me just run this. Name, I'm going to enter. Age. Okay, first of all, I'm getting an error. Why? Because it is not an integer. That is the thing. It can only concatenate str. That means it can only add up with the string. Concatenation is the process of adding two strings together. We'll understand that later. But if 10 is a string, only then it is going to add it here. If it is an integer, it will add it here because age here is an integer, but here in this line, it is not an integer. So let me just remove this line. We'll just do that part later, that concatenation one. Let's just see how we can perform the mathematical operations when we are doing the type conversion. Again, it is asking me the age. That's the second question. So again, when it prints the age, that's 30. This 30 and this 30 will be different because this is a string and this is an integer. When I add 10 to it, it gives me 40. When I was trying to add 10 over there, I got an error, right? Because I was trying to add a number to a string. 30 was a string and 10 was the number. We cannot do that. All right. So I'll just conclude my session over here and we are going to continue with the other basics related to input and output functions, that is print and input, in the second session. Till then, try to practice and see what type of different questions you can generate out of input, how you can collect the responses, how you can create the variables, how you can print the statements. Try to practice short programs related to print and input statement. Take care, everyone. Do watch these series, learn Python, learn the basics of Python and enjoy it. Leave me a feedback in the comment section. Let me know whatever you want to learn further in Python. We are going to modulate our sessions accordingly. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. Please do like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Share it with others who are willing to learn Python in a very easy way. We are going to take it very simple way, very slowly, because everybody needs to learn Python these days. It's a highly required language. All right. Thank you so much.